It's the morning of April 16, 2018, and a Beechcraft Bonanza, November 9345 Quebec, is flying IFR over central Ohio. The pilot and his passenger are en route to DeLand Municipal Airport in Florida. Instrument conditions prevail in the airplane's current location, and the Bonanza is accumulating light rime icing at 4,000 feet. The pilot descends to 3,000 feet to clear the clouds and hopefully eliminate the ice.
Okay, we're underneath the clouds right now. Looks like it's clearing up. We're about 1 degree over Celsius.
4 o'clock, Quebec, roger. Thank you.
About 1 minute later, the controller notices that the Bonanza has further descended to 2,700 feet.
4 o'clock, Quebec, low altitude alert, take altitude immediately. MBA in your area is 2,900.
Okay, right now we've been getting some buffeting. We got some rime ice, but we're losing.
4 o'clock, Quebec, roger, you need to land?
Negative right now. We're clearing up.
Roger.
We're about 4 degrees over Celsius, 0 now.
Roger. 4 o'clock, Quebec, use caution, and MBA in that area is 2,900.
Yeah, I understand, 2,900, 456.
Despite the pilot's assurances, the Bonanza's descent continues. It's now at 2,200 feet MSL, only 1,000 feet AGL.
4 o'clock, Quebec, how you doing, sir?
We're doing okay right now. Waiting for this ice to dissipate.
It's the last transmission the pilot will make to the controller. A minute later, the airplane's altitude shows 1,500 feet before it suddenly disappears from radar. The Bonanza impacts terrain near the town of Warsaw, Ohio, killing both the pilot and his passenger. Sadly, these aren't the only lives that will be claimed by icing in the days ahead. A mere 200 miles to the east, another fatal aviation accident will soon unfold. It's now April 19th, 3 days later. At Lancaster Airport in Pennsylvania, a Cirrus SR-22, November 451 Tango Delta, is preparing to depart on an early morning cross-country flight to South Bend International Airport in Indiana. The private pilot and his passenger are traveling to attend a conference being held at an Indiana university. The pilot obtained a weather briefing using ForeFlight at 9:27 p.m. the night before, with a planned departure time of 6:45 a.m. this morning. The graphical forecast products from his briefing predicted cloud cover as low as 2,000 feet MSL, around 800 to 1,000 feet AGL, along the route of flight, and the surface forecast predicted marginal VFR conditions with likely snow shower activity. Meanwhile, terminal forecasts for several airports along the route of flight called for IFR and low IFR conditions during the airplane's passing time. The ForeFlight briefing also included airmets for IFR conditions, mountain obscuration, and moderate icing at various levels. However, these airmets were only valid until 5 o'clock a.m. on April 19th, which was before the intended departure time. After receiving the weather briefing, the pilot filed an IFR flight plan with a planned cruising altitude of 6,000 feet MSL. Now, at 7:34 a.m., the Cirrus begins its departure. The 500-hour pilot is instrument-rated and current, with 28 hours of actual IMC logged. In the last 6 months, he's flown 4 flights with his instructor for the purpose of maintaining instrument currency and proficiency. Although last night's weather briefing warned of unfavorable conditions along his route, the pilot has decided to proceed with the trip. However, there's a troubling omission in his flight planning. An updated airmet advisory was recorded via the flight plan identification number at 4:52 a.m., but there is no record that the pilot retrieved this new information. If he had obtained an updated briefing, he would see that hazardous conditions are now active during the time he'll be passing through. The new airmets warn of moderate icing between the freezing level and 16,000 feet, IFR and mountain obscuration, and low-level turbulence valid until 11 a.m. Unfortunately, this Cirrus is not equipped with an anti-icing or de-icing system. The pilot and his passenger, unaware of the new weather information, set off for Indiana. It's now an hour later. Cirrus 451 Tango Delta is about 10 miles past the city of Altoona, Pennsylvania, cruising at 5,500 feet, when the pilot makes a call to ATC.
Johnstown, this is Cirrus 451 Tango Delta with a request.
Cirrus 1 Tango Delta, say request.
Just curious, do you know if you know what the tops are of the cloud?
I do not have any tops reports standby. Let me call center and see if they have any of that area. Okay, 1 Tango Delta, center has tops report about 25 northwest of your position, around 17,000.
17,000 is the tops of the ceiling cloud?
Yeah, they said that was the tops in that area.
All right, we were just in a lot of IMC. What's the bottom? Is it 4,000?
It could be lower than that. I'm showing here at Johnstown, which is 18 miles southwest of you. We have our cloud deck starts at 200 feet.
All right, that doesn't help me.
A minute later, the reason for the pilot's request to ATC becomes more clear.
Johnstown, this is 451 Tango Delta.
Say again?
This is Cirrus 451 Tango Delta. We're getting a little ice up here. I think I should probably get down to Johnstown.
Okay, so you want to divert to Johnstown, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Can you vector me?
1 Tango Delta, affirmative, sir. You're clear to Johnstown via radar vectors. It'll be an ILS runway 33 approach, turn left heading 160. Actually, correction, make it 170 heading vector to the ILS.
170.
And if you get the chance, the type of icing you're getting, the intensity, and the outside air temperature, please.
It's a little not bad, but it's enough to get me a little concerned.
Copy that, thank you.
The pilot's conversation with ATC indicates that he understands the severity of the situation, and he has decided his best course of action is to get on the ground.
What runway am I expected to go into, Johnstown?
1 Tango Delta, it's runway 33, the ILS, and we are having traffic information uniform. And we're showing a ceiling at 200 overcast, so that's right at the mint there for the ILS. If you still want to try it, that's fine. If not, I'm showing Altoona's weather is a little bit better. They report, or they're showing 500 overcast right now.
All right, let's go to Altoona.
With Altoona looking like the better option, the pilot alters his course. The airport is 25 miles to the southeast.
1 Tango Delta, roger. Does ILS 21 work for you?
That'd be good. What? Can you vector me that?
Yep, absolutely. 1 Tango Delta, continue left turn heading 100, vector to ILS.
100. Think I could get down to 4,000?
1 Tango Delta, descend and maintain 4,500. That'll be the lowest I can get you for a little bit.
4,500.
Cirrus 1 Tango Delta, advise when you do have the weather and NOTAMs at Altoona, and if you need me to, I can read the weather for you there. I can read the earliest observation for them.
Yeah, if you could read the weather, that'd be great.
1 Tango Delta, not a problem, sir. The 1226 Zulu observation, winds 360 at 6, visibility 1 mile, light rain, mist, ceiling is 500 overcast, temperature 6, dew point 4, and the Altoona altimeter is 2970.
What information is that?
That's just off the ASOS there. It's an uncontrolled airport.
Within the next minute, the controller notices the Cirrus changing its heading.
1 Tango Delta, I show you turning about a 200 heading right now. Say intentions.
I'm just going to try to get direct. What direction should I be?
A heading of 090 when able.
090. Yep, I'll get it back on.
Meanwhile, 451 Tango Delta has been steadily descending past 4,500 feet. The Cirrus is at 3,900 feet when the pilot checks in.
And you want me at 4,500?
1 Tango Delta, affirm, sir. Altitude 4,500 on heading of 090.
A minute later, the controller notices that the Cirrus is still at 3,900 feet.
Cirrus 1 Tango Delta, the altimeter is 2970. Just verify your level at 4,500, please.
All right, 4,500. I just dropped a little bit. I'll get it back up.
Okay, thank you, sir.
It's now 2 minutes later, and the pilot has only climbed to 4,100 feet. If his climbing difficulty is indicative of structural icing, the pilot hasn't mentioned it to the controller.
1 Tango Delta, turn 10 degrees to the left.
10 degrees left, 451 Tango Delta.
Attention all aircraft, new Johnstown altimeter 2971. Cirrus 1 Tango Delta, turn right, heading of 120.
120, 451 Tango Delta.
The Cirrus continues to remain below its designated altitude, averaging 4,100 feet over the previous few minutes.
Cirrus 1 Tango Delta, 5 miles from Will, turn right, heading 180, maintain at or above 4,300 till you're established, clear to the ILS 21 Altoona.
All right, 451 Tango Delta, turn right to 180. We're clear for the intercept.
2 minutes pass, and the controller sees that 451 Tango Delta has crossed through the localizer course for runway 21 at Altoona. The pilot hasn't realized the error.
451 Tango Delta, you've already begun through the localizer, sir. Say intentions.
I still want to get there. Can you vector me one more time?
1 Tango Delta, affirmative, sir. Maintain 4,500. Turn left, heading 090. It'll be a box pattern back to final.
090, okay. I missed it.
The pilot turns left, but continues his left turn beyond 090. 39 seconds into the turn, the Cirrus begins to descend, and its airspeed increases. The left turn tightens, and the airplane begins to spiral. The Cirrus impacts the ground in a steep, nose-low attitude.
Cirrus 451 Tango Delta, radar contact lost. Cirrus 451 Tango Delta, Johnstown approach. How do you hear me?
A review of weather information current at the time of the flight revealed that the Cirrus most likely encountered IMC about 500 feet AGL on the initial climb-out from Lancaster Airport, and remained in IMC in conditions favorable to icing for the rest of the flight. Before the flight, a forecast icing potential indicated that light to moderate intensity icing existed near the accident site, and a current icing potential product indicated that supercooled liquid droplets existed near the accident site. This weather information was available, in addition to the updated AirMet advisory issued at 4:52 a.m. The NTSB could not determine to what degree the Cirrus was affected by structural icing during the approach to Altoona. At minimum, it appeared to affect the airplane's ability to maintain the altitude requested by ATC. In the end, however, icing was only one part of this fatal accident. While the pilot was maneuvering in the last seconds before the crash, he was in IMC with restricted visibility. Combined with the spiraling radar track data and the high-velocity impact with terrain, the circumstances indicated the pilot was likely experiencing spatial disorientation. The airplane's entry into a descending left turn while the pilot was being vectored back toward the localizer course, which subsequently tightened, became what's known as a graveyard spiral. The graveyard spiral can occur from a vestibular illusion associated with the return to level flight following a prolonged banked turn. There are a number of lessons that we can learn from this accident. The first and most obvious is that it's imperative to check the most recent weather conditions before departing on any flight. A study of the forecast the night before across country is always a good idea, but it's only one part of safe and thorough pre-flight planning. Weather is dynamic and ever-changing, and many aviation forecasts are updated every 6 hours, including AirMets and terminal forecasts. Flying with outdated information from a forecast 10 hours old is asking for trouble. Furthermore, with the weather information he reviewed the night before, the pilot already knew about hazardous weather to come, and shouldn't have proceeded with hope that conditions would get better. After all, hope is not a strategy for flying safely. A past, present, future approach can be helpful in identifying and predicting weather trends. For example, where was the weather yesterday or several hours ago? How long did it take to reach its current condition and location? And based on that, when can I expect it to improve or worsen along my route? Another critical lesson is the need to tell ATC what's going on. As the icing accumulated and the reality of the dangerous situation set in, small clues in the pilot's language and actions were possible hints of his growing unease.
It's a little not bad, but it's enough to get me a little concerned. Think I could get down to 4,000?
1 Tango Delta, I show you turning about a 200 heading right now. Say intentions?
I'm just going to try to get direct. What direction should I be?
It appears that the pilot desired a lower altitude with hope of finding higher temperatures. It also seems that he knew he needed to expedite his approach to the airport, indicated by his intentional, albeit unapproved, change in heading. After the controller told him that 4,500 feet was the lowest altitude he could authorize, and questioned his heading change to 200, the pilot should have countered with more assertive language to make it clear what he needed. For example, I need to get out of icing conditions. I need the lowest possible safe altitude, and I need the most direct course to Altoona. Going one step further and declaring an emergency would have been entirely appropriate. The high workload and stress the pilot was likely experiencing appears to have contributed to his failure to intercept the localizer course for runway 21 at Altoona. It's difficult to say whether the missed intercept had more to do with the icing conditions or the pilot's instrument proficiency. Shortly following was the onset of spatial disorientation. The pilot's spiraling turn and subsequent crash is a stark reminder of the insidious nature of spatial disorientation. It can affect any pilot, even one who is instrument-rated and current. While some details of the pilot's IFR refresher flights in the previous 6 months were published by the NTSB, we don't know their true impact on the pilot's proficiency. It's important that instructors customize training to suit pilots' individual needs and types of flying, especially during seasons of cold, snow, and icing. CFIs should conduct risk management training using real-world scenarios to improve pilots' decision-making. This is an important component of the FAA's Airman Certification Standards. We also don't know how reliant the pilot was on using the autopilot in the Cirrus. The radar data showed that the airplane was flying a relatively smooth and consistent flight path that was indicative of the pilot using the autopilot for the majority of the flight, until the final turn after flying through the localizer course. Another suggestion for instructors is to encourage the practice of periodically hand-flying the airplane to keep a pilot's stick and rudder skills sharp. Finally, a small detail discovered during the post-crash investigation proved troubling. The NTSB found that the pilot had not removed the safety pin for the Cirrus airframe parachute system before flight. Removing this safety pin is critical to ensure proper operation of the parachute system. This is a standard Cirrus checklist item, and it appears 3 times. Remove the pin during the pre-flight walk-around, verify it is removed before engine start, and verify once more before takeoff. We don't know if the pilot attempted to pull the parachute before the crash, but if he had, it could have been a life-saving maneuver had the pin been properly removed. The crash of November 451 Tango Delta, as well as the loss of 2 lives in November 9345 Quebec a few days earlier, is a sad and sobering look at the hazardous nature of icing, and the effects it has on both the aircraft and pilot. In the Bonanza accident, the pilot failed to obtain an official weather briefing. In the Cirrus accident, the pilot neglected to obtain an updated briefing. It's a reminder to us that in general aviation, weather is one of the largest factors determining the safety of a flight. In today's flying environment, new technologies provide near real-time weather observations that can help us use the most complete information available to optimize our decisions. If we don't use all of the tools at our disposal to make a full assessment of the weather, we put ourselves and our passengers at risk.
Hey everybody, welcome. We're just waiting on our guest speaker. We're not going to delay getting started for that, so we're going to get started here in just under a minute. Give him just a couple minutes to get in. All right, everybody, let me get everything set up here. Give me just a second. Make some transitions here. All right. Here we go. Welcome, everyone. And we'll get started the same way we always do here. Let me get you started here. So, for those that have never been to a meeting before, you can bookmark this link. This is the link that's going to get you the code at the end. So the way these meetings always work is at the very end, you effectively give yourself credit. So you'll go to this link. It's also under safety on the website, Safety Meeting Sign In. And then once you sign in to the website, everything should be pre-filled. And then you're going to put the code in that you'll get at the end of the meeting. Once you get that code in there, you'll get a confirmation on the website. The confirmation will also be sent to your email at, I think it's 11 o'clock tonight. If you do not get your code in by 11 o'clock tonight, then you won't be able to put your code in. So if it's after 11 o'clock tonight, you'll have to contact me. If you don't get a confirmation email, or if you log into Schedule Master and you don't see that you've received credit for the meeting, then you can email me and I'll see where the breakdown was. 90% of the time it's because either the code was not put in prior to the meeting or wasn't put in at all, but or prior to 11 o'clock rather, sorry. That's what it looks like. So again, all of the fields are pre-filled. So all you're going to need to do is put in the meeting code and hit submit. Our guest just arrived. Give me just a second to let me add him in here. 1 second. All right, cool. I've got him in, and so hey, Chance. You're not on live yet, so I'm just going to make sure that you're queued up and ready to go. So give me just 1 second here. Let me fix this. Oops. All right. All right, so we'll get back to him in just a few minutes. All right, so just going through some other housekeeping stuff here. This is the basic format of the meeting. It's pretty similar every time. All right, so I'm going to bring this up probably every meeting for the next 10 years until either the FAA or this Yahoo in Encinitas Encinitas stops calling us and emailing us. We are still getting noise abatement complaints pretty much everywhere in the county because everybody's home, nobody's going to work, or everybody's starting to work from home. So big areas are this Encinitas area here. There's a lot of stuff that's on the coast that we just get random reports. We have some board members and just club members in general that live along the coast. So we get random reports on low-flying aircraft from them. But the bottom line is we're getting all kinds of reports. We're still getting them. So this is one of them over in Encinitas. There's another one that is in Descanso and Pine Valley, which I think most of you are probably familiar with by now. The only thing I can really say is don't violate any FARs and you'll likely be fine. These guys here that are along the coast, he's usually sending emails with all kinds of reports about, number one, the airplane, the N number, the flight track, the pressure altitude, the weather at his house at the time of the report, what the altitude is, or what he thinks the altitude is, the airplane above the ground, et cetera, et cetera. On occasion, he'll tell us flat out that he's reported it to the FAA already. If that happens, there's nothing that we can do. Anytime it happens, I forward the email to whoever the member and or instructor was that was in the airplane. There's not a lot that, and unless it's a really like gross negligence type of flight at 200 feet over somebody's house, there's not really anything that I usually get involved with. It's an information only. And most of the time when the FAA follows up, which they always follow up, whether or not there's any FAR violation, they will just tell you these guys are always looking out, they're always reporting, and be careful. So that's usually where it ends. There's a couple questions that came up here. South coastal transition along. No issue with this. I've never had anyone have a transition along the coast be a problem. I assume you're talking like the bay transition or something, Tony. No, there's nothing. That does bring up another slightly off topic, but same general idea is that there's people in Imperial Beach now that are tired of little airplanes flying over and around. So just be careful around the around that area. It's getting a little bit out of hand. Again, not really any violations, just something to be aware of. So if you're going to go out, there's the other one, Pine Valley, Descanso. If you want to go out and do ground reference maneuvers, go out to Salton Sea or Shiraka Summit. I'm mostly kidding. Owners would like that though. All right, so just to run through some updates here, we're getting so many airplanes in. Let's go back a little bit. We're not really losing any airplanes. We've got 36671. All of these are at Montgomery. No surprise there. Palomar is effectively out of space, so it's a little bit more difficult. But Montgomery, we've got 36711, PA28 181. That's coming online. I don't think that's active in Schedule Master yet. 75733, they might be active in Schedule Master. I haven't actually looked today. 75733 is a 172 180 horse. And then there's a really nice BE33 coming online soon that is an 85 model, 85 or 89. Dave can correct me. The 150 wasn't flying, that left the club. 535 Sierra was an early model SR22. He also owns 845 Juliet Romeo. He sold that one because it was coming up on the shoot repack and he didn't want to pay the 12 grand to do it. So that one's gone. All right. Moving right along. All right. So just a quick club update here. We're getting a lot of issues with different things in the club, and the last several months we've seen a dramatic increase in basically every measured metric in the club. We have a 10% increase in membership. year over year, 15% increase in flight hours, 8% increase in number of leased aircraft, and in the past year alone, 98 new flight instructors. The majority of these instructors, most of you are probably online, are newer instructors. There have been a few that have unfortunately been affected by the airline issues, but for the most part, most of the instructors are new. So with the increase in these numbers, there's been an increase in issues on all fronts, and some of them you might be familiar with, but just to run through some of the issues that we see every single day. We received a request from a member to be credited because he experienced a long delay in the run-up area of 28 right at Montgomery. So he was asking if that could be sent as an IDP. Today, we received a bill from a hangar owner because of cleanup that had to be done at his hangar due to a member's actions when maneuvering an airplane. We receive IDP claims almost every single week to pay for damage caused by other members, We receive calls from the FSDO probably weekly about members, aircraft, violations, all kinds of stuff. Most recently, which was in my latest email, the FSDO contacted us because of a reported maintenance issue or perceived maintenance issue that had to do with a sticker. So the sticker said that the ADF was inoperative. That was the title of the logbook entry. In the logbook entry, there was a misprint, so it was just a typo. That typo was taken to the owner. I don't know the exact conversation with the owner, but I can guess what it was. And the owner basically, this person was on a check ride, so it was the DPE that was trying to get this fixed because he perceived that it was a problem with the legality of the airplane. I disagreed. Before I even was able to get involved, the examiner had contacted the FSDO to try to get some more clarification. At which point in time, the FSDO called and said that they could violate, quote, everyone that has touched the aircraft in the past year, which would have included nearly every examiner in San Diego. So that's been an issue that we've been dealing with, and it's been a lot of fallout over the last few weeks. As a matter of fact, someone's probably on the call that was actually involved in that. But at any rate, so that's just one. That's another issue. We had an issue where an instructor was involved in an accident in Montgomery. The aircraft was totaled. Luckily, there were no injuries. Not the Great Lakes. That's not what I'm talking about. More recently, we had an instructor that was sent to Agua Caliente on a solo cross country. The student had a significant maintenance issue once they landed. And a follow-up to that, within 2 weeks of that, another instructor and a member landed at Agua Caliente and broke the key off in the ignition. If you're familiar with the Agua Caliente airport, I'll get to the questions about the DP in just a second. I'll circle back to use our White House's term. A key was, so I said that the key was locked, was broken off in the ignition. So for whatever reason, Agua Caliente has been getting a lot of hits lately. People want to go out there. It's a great airport. It's in the middle of the desert. There's no cell service for 10 miles south and 2 miles north. So there's no services, and if you're lucky, someone's at the ranger station. The last incident prior to these that we had, the only way that the guy who had geared up our Arrow out there was able to get a hold of anybody because he was able to communicate on 121.5 to Southwest Airlines, who then called SoCal, who then called Dave. So not really the best decision making for sending a student. We have a lot of instructors that make their living flight instructing. We have some instructors that choose to do dual. Or see, I'm sorry, I'm reading Mike's Mike's comment. We have some instructors that supplement their income in the club. We have other instructors that are just building time. My job, first and foremost. So remember too that there's basically Dave and myself that are effectively running the operations of the club day to day. Our job, first and foremost, is to ensure that the club continues to operate. So we analyze liability or potential liability, and that liability might come in the form of aircraft, instructors, members, who knows. If there's something that threatens the club, then we have to deal with it. Most of you are probably going to, or many of you are going to leave for the airlines within the next couple of years if you're lucky. So you'll end up leaving us with members that we will have to deal with in one form or another, hopefully not in a bad way, for years to come. I want to make sure that everyone is reminded that instructing in the club is not a right. It's a privilege that, because you hold a flight instructor certificate and you've gone through the requirements, that we are able to allow you to do that. We've been fortunate that we have not had to add a bunch of extra layers of bureaucracy to being a flight instructor. Some of that is going to change this year because of a lot of issues that we are seeing. So I don't have specific details to share with you now. I'm just letting you know that there are some changes coming. Some of you will like them. Some of you will not like them. Nobody's going to be, I mean, they're not earth shattering. We're not going to do anything. Never mind. I'm not going to go there. But anyway, we're looking at options. So just going back up the list, the DP was Dave Leonard, and the typo was there was not a. I was going to include it, and sorry, Rand and Gus, I forgot to actually print the image out to put on here. But there was no in the verbiage. So I'm just going over here. Dave's probably. I'm just looking at the comments here on YouTube. Okay, good, nothing there. Yes, that's what I'm referring to, Chauncey. So if there are any questions, I think that I've got them. I'm just looking up here. If anyone wants to post any questions on YouTube or Vimeo, feel free. And then I am going to queue up our guest speaker here in just a second. Okay. Well, no questions here. All right. So with that, I'm going to let Chance introduce himself in about 3, 2, 1. All right, Chance, the floor is yours.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, great.
Actually, hold on a second. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name's Chance. Forgive the get up. I work over at Learn to Fly, and I just got off work. And so pretty much I'm here to kind of share my experience and everything that had happened a couple years ago, and the actions that I did that got me kicked out of the club. And so hopefully you guys can maybe tell this story to your students, or that's what aviation is about, right? Hopefully we learn from other people's mistakes and not make them ourselves. So essentially what had happened is most of you might have heard about Blackbird, the sort of pseudo Part 135, trying to operate under Part 91, commercial carrier kind of thing. They advertise as the Uber of the skies. And I ended up flying for them. What had happened was I was like a brand new commercial pilot, and it was like June of 2018. And in July of 2018, I started getting these like advertises on Instagram and Facebook about this company called Blackbird that was just like doing it's like, hey, we can connect you using like prorated share software. Like you put in where you want to go, and then we'll connect people who want to go on the flight with you, and then you guys do the prorated share and everything's totally legit, and you just like use our service. And so I was like, oh, that sounds cool. So I signed up for that, and then nothing came of that. But then that's how they got my information. And so then they're like, a couple months later in August, of 2018, they said, hey, you're a commercial pilot. We have this new program out where we're paying commercial pilots to fly people around, and we're like we have all this venture capitalist money, and we're trying to be the Uber of the skies. And so we're making it really cheap for everybody, and we're paying commercial pilots a lot of money. And we're using flight clubs and schools and owners of aircraft all over California to rent the aircraft from, and then pay the commercial pilots to fly them. And so that should have, in my brain, been like, well, that sounds a whole lot like common carriage, but it didn't. And so I was just like, yeah, that sounds great. And I started, I did a flight for them, and then one flight led to many more, because they were paying, and I was a poor commercial pilot, and I was an idiot. And so I started flying for them, and I was going all over the place in California, flying like one of the Club's 182s. And so after a while, the club caught on, and then they had obviously found out my name was like, my face was like on the Blackbird website. And so it was pretty easy to tell what I was doing. And so club found out, and then I got kicked out of the club. And that was 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago now. And after that had happened, I had, so luckily the club is nice and forgiving and allowing me to say this to you guys, and instruct in the club again for the first time ever. I've been a flight instructor for a year now, so thank you, Shane and Dave. You guys are awesome. But yeah, so I should have known that I was doing this common carriage thing, right? We all know the definition of common carriage. It's transport persons of property from place to place for compensation or hire, and it's holding out if you're using, it even says in the regulation, I'm looking at it now, it says through the use of actions of agencies and salesmen, a reputation to serve all and stuff. And so I take full responsibility for my actions. Absolutely. I was a bonehead. That should have rung in my ear that it was common carriage. However, I've never heard of one of the, because it's been done before. Like on Florida, I've read when it was all going down, I had read that there was like people trying to get away with a prorated share of these pseudo Part 135 things, and the FAA kind of shut those down since. I'd never heard of those before, and so that not making excuses, but that's just, if I would have heard of that, maybe things would have went differently. That's hearsay, they're saying. So anyway, after I was removed from the club, I had contacted the FSDO, and I was like, hey, look, here's what had happened. I was flying for this company, Blackbird, and they said they were totally legit. And they're obviously not, because they're asking me for help on how to make them legit or something. It was really weird. And so I contacted the FSDO, and the FSDO was just like, hey, Chance, no offense, we're not interested in you, but we are interested in everything you have on Blackbird. So send us everything you got. And so I ended up sending them all the information of how they pay their pilots and their schedules and their online system and all that stuff. And they must have used that information, the San Diego FSDO guy here, and the team that they were using to investigate, use that information to shut them down, because they got shut down, I think maybe like a year later. Took a while for the investigation, but that whole business is no more, luckily, so no one else is going to fall for that. And yeah, and so that was a couple years ago, and I've since then got hit 1,500 hours, worked for a skydive place at Bannertoe, and I've been in flight instructing for over a year. And so I've definitely learned my lesson, and I really appreciate, like I said, the club and the board letting me back in and own up and pay my dues and everything. And I'm starting to instruct in the club again. Well, for the first time ever, starting to instruct in the club, and it's great. And I know dang well that it's a privilege and not a right. So I just really appreciate, Shane, you letting me do this and tell everyone about what happened. And hopefully, like I said, other people learn from it and don't make the same mistake I did. Anything else, Shane? Questions?
I'm looking to see if there's anybody that wants to ask any questions. So just to fill in some of the, I think this is long gone for the rest of the folks out there, especially the newer instructors. I think the Blackbird itself is long gone. It's been gone for a little while. That doesn't mean another company is not going to come and take its place. It's very enticing to for some of the stuff that they do, So the only thing I'll add is that if it seems too good to be true, it likely is. We've seen every iteration of how people try to utilize club aircraft to make money for themselves, up to and including drug running. No joke, that happened. Dave can give you the story, but it never works out in the end. The issues that we face are that we need to protect the club and the members, and doing stuff that is in violation of FARs is certainly something that will cause us to take notice, but some of these things we just can't overlook. So that's what happened with Chance. Unfortunate, but it seems as though Chance is he's really owned up to it, and that's appreciated. So, well, that was hopefully fairly painless. I'm going to mute you first. Let's see, hold on. There's a couple of questions. Chance, I don't know if you can see them. I'll just read them to you.
I don't have anything pulled up.
Do you? Okay.
I don't see anything, but yeah, you want to read them off? Sorry.
I'm not sure that I really understand the question, Tony. While flying for Blackbird, what is the maximum number of GoPros allowed on the airplane? Okay.
Trick question.
There's some stuff on, I don't think there's anything on YouTube.
The link I had, Shane, was just for the Vimeo thing. I guess I'm sorry. It's my first meeting, so I don't know how to look at the CFI one or the YouTube one.
Oh, that's fine. Don't worry. Dave's on there, so he's dealing with it. Brian, I have no idea what you're even talking about. Stuff on YouTube.
Matthew, $100 an hour. That's what it was. The link I had, Shane, was just for the Vimeo. I guess I'm
sorry. I don't know that someone wrote all over Roland's arrow. That's unfortunate. Okay. Well, Chance, it doesn't sound like there's any specific questions.
Okay. Well, so thank you again.
If there are, I'll unmute your audio. I'm going to go ahead and kill your audio. So that's gone. And let's take you off of here. All right. So that was Chance. And let me get back to the presentation here. That is Chance was the only speaker today. So if there's any questions, I'm going to continue on with, there's not a whole lot else. I'm going to go ahead and bring up the next couple slides. And then you guys are free to stay on for the next 20 minutes or so if you have any specific questions for Dave or I, or for Chance. We'll keep him locked in the meeting for another 20 minutes or so. Those are the next 3 meetings that are coming up. So just a reminder, your CFI safety meetings have to be done at least once every 6 months. I tell everybody make as many as you can so that when you can't make it, it's not a big deal. Don't wait till the 6th one and then find out you get called out of town for something. There's nothing I can do if that happens. All right. So with that, we'll stay on for a bit. And there you go. Someone asked earlier about the Falcon that's sitting at the end of the runway. Let me see if I can find it. There's a lot of video online. I'm sure that Facebook has probably already solved the accident. So probably NTSB will reach out to our Facebook group for that help. Did the customers? Oh, here's a question that's actually a good question. Did the customers ever seem curious or suspicious of the legality of what you were doing?
Am I unmuted?
Yeah, Dave, go for it.
No, everyone was just rather, I guess, not suspicious, but just because it was so cheap. I think because they had the venture capitalist money, so they had all this investment, and so you'd have like a $40 flight from San Diego to Santa Barbara, and so there was like it was rather just surprising, I guess. And most people were just kind of in the dark of like the regulations behind it all.
Real quick, I'm just going to interrupt you for a second. Before y'all drop off, there's actually a cool, we had one of our instructors, Brad Butler, who was able to get a NOTAM for allowance of GA aircraft to do PAR approaches on Sundays at Miramar. So there is a NOTAM apparently that's published now. If I'm correct, Brad, you can post in the chat. But if you have never done a PAR, you'd like to do a PAR, go for it. Sunday from 2 to 6 local, I believe is what it looks like. Please, God, whatever you do, don't touch down. Low approach, and then get out of there. Yep. So we'll thank Brad Butler for that. He's on here. So if anyone has any questions on that, feel free to drop those in the chat box too. Even better, 2 to 11:30 local. Yeah, Dave, it's on. Sorry, I pulled it away.